Hey y'all, happy what is it, Wednesday. Thank you for coming to another What Else is Going On, aka We Go Podcast YouTube video. I'm your girl, your host, Taria. I hope y'all are having an amazing week so far. Today is hump day. So if you're feeling stressed, maybe go hump. That might help you. If you're not humping, try something to let your all those feelings of frustration out. You know how some people say, I'm so frustrated, I want to scream? Scream. Like actually really scream. It might help. Do something to let it out because you can't hold that in. I just wanted to come to y'all real quick and talk to y'all about two quick things. I do want to tell y'all this real quick. I was hoping I didn't forget. I got a quick rideshare rant for you. So today I pick up someone, a gentleman. It was under a woman's name, but surprise, surprise. Not really a surprise to me because people do this all the time. It's a gentleman there, right? He gets in, and as we're pulling out of where I'm picking him up from, we hear horn beeps, but it sounded like a beep, like that you know somebody. Like if you were trying to get, I don't know, it just sounded like a beep where you know somebody. How that sounds, I don't know, but y'all probably know, right? Now remember, I picked him up. He called the ride share. I probably didn't say the name already, but he called the ride share. I was like minutes away, not even. Pick him up. He gets in. We're pulling out and we hear this horn that seemed like they know somebody. So I'm looking in the rearview mirror, like I know anybody beeping at me. I'm cool over here driving. He was like, "Oh, that sound like a horn that knows somebody." His mouth. I didn't know he was coming from the dentist, but I was like, "Oh, I wonder if something's wrong with his speech." Coming to find out, his mouth was numb, right? Because I picked him up from the McDonald's right next to a dentist office. So he says, "Oh, that sounds like somebody that knows somebody." I said, "Oh yeah." And as I'm pulling out, y'all, it was like he took this as an opening. He said, "Yeah, yeah, I thought it was the chick that was just in the dentist's office." Oh, okay. I said, "Oh, okay," because y'all already know how I feel, right? For those of y'all that are new here, I do ride share, and I'm sure you can pick up on what I mean by ride share. And I like people to get in. We confirm their drop off location, and we don't speak no more till they get out. There's been two wonderful people that I've met in here that listen to the podcast or watch the YouTube, and that was divine intervention. But normally I don't be talking like that. So he says, "Yeah, that must have been the chick in the dentist's office. She working in my mouth." I'm gonna say what he said, okay? Okay. He said, "She working in my mouth, standing over me, kept rubbing her titties on me, on my forehead, then like on my arm. And then she gonna tell me I have a wet mouth." Yo, I immediately want to gag because anytime I've picked somebody up from the dentist before and their mouth is swollen, I just have a vivid imagination and it just goes to like being in a dentist's office and all the stuff they do in your mouth and, like I vomit, right? Inwardly. So I said, "Oh, okay." He was like, "Yeah." She was asking me about asking me about how many kids I got, telling me that she got two kids, but they grown now. One is 19 and one is a little bit older than that, and how she 40. She got a divorce. She used to live out in the town that I used to live out, actually. And she moved to a house by the water, and then she rubbed her titties on me again. I said, "Oh." And then it was just like silent. So I said, normally I would just let it be silent because I no longer feel funny about the silence. But I did kind of want to know, like, where is this going? So I said, "She was asking you all them questions while she was working in your mouth?" No, she would like stop and swab my mouth out, rinse my mouth out so I could answer. And I was like, "Yo, I think this lady hitting on me, and I ain't never been with a white chick before." I said, "Oh, okay." He was like, Then I started thinking like she trying to like might be want to have a baby or something with like mix our heritages and stuff, and I ain't with that." Maybe he's high. I don't know. Maybe he got laughing gas and not pain medicine. I don't know. He wasn't laughing. And he was like, "Little do she know." Y'all ready for this? "Little do she know, I got seven kids, four baby mamas, and a fiance in the house with her own 1 year old and 3 year old." I said, have a blessed one. Oh, and I said, yeah, that's right. Don't let them in the bloodline. Yeah, I'm playing along. And I said, have a good day. Y'all, this man, and the way he was talking about it and trying to rationalize it in his mind, like basically the only reason he would have said no was because this is what I got was because he felt like she didn't want him for him, but she wanted to procreate with a black man. If that was the case, I mean, like that wouldn't be hard to find. You know what I'm saying? And look, maybe my scale is a little beauty is in the eyes of the beholder. I'm just gonna leave it there. But what really got me was imagine meeting a man that you think is interested in you and y'all talking and say y'all go out on dates and you getting to know him, then all of a sudden you find out he has, well, I guess not fiance, but the fact is he has 7 kids, a fiance with her own child, I believe one, and a 4-year old. I I said, my God. He was literally thinking about it though. Y'all, I see, y'all, those be the conversations that people be wanting to have. And I'm like, but anyway, let's get into the story. I told y'all this is going to be really quick. Let's talk about Kelli, Real Housewives of Atlanta. So y'all remember, what was it? Not last Sunday that just passed, but the Sunday before Kenya's event, Portia and Kelli met up with Kenya at her salon. I would play the audio for you, but it has music in it, and I don't. Y'all already know. I don't be knowing what you two want, but y'all go back if you don't. If you want to hear it for yourself, go back and watch the scene where Kelli and Portia were in Kenya's salon after the models had walked out, the potential models for the show that they were looking at. They talk about what happened that night at the bank, and Portia says, whatever happened at the table, well, Kenya had checked out, whatever happened at the table can be worked through, but it's what's said outside. We need to basically see who heard what. And Kenya said, oh, I know what I heard, talking about the pow pow. Kelli says, oh, I didn't hear that. I didn't hear that. Then on Watch What Happens Live, she said, as I'm watching it back, there were a lot of things that she didn't pick up on when she was there. Now, I feel like she was talking about the pow pow because she didn't say it. I'm gonna give but not give, but give the benefit of the doubt. Only because she said in the episode she didn't hear it. She said that in the episode. She did not hear it, right? So on Watch What Happens Live, when she says, I watched it back, and there was a lot of there were things that she didn't pick up on because a lot of the commotion's going on. Well, it seems like Kelli has a bit of a different story now. So we are going to go, and Kelli had an interview with, give me one second. She had an interview with Boss Up, Danny. So let's see what Kelli had to say about all these things. Hold on, y'all. I'm going to show y'all. But first, let me make sure y'all be able to hear it. To me, that she was talking. Hold on. I want y'all to, we're going to start it from the beginning, but I'm going to share my screen so y'all can see. So y'all can see. So y'all can see. Okay. Let's go.
You and Angela both had pivotal moments on the show. She had the dinner at the bank, obviously, where all that went down with Kenya and Brit. And one of the questions people had was, how could you not hear Brit make that comment about the pistol? I think a lot of people were like, but you were right there, Kelli. Are you sure you didn't hear it? And you did not hear her say that.
So this is the deal.
Okay.
I was in the bathroom.
Okay.
Okay. I was in the bathroom getting demiked with them sheer Mugler pants on, trying to use the bathroom. And it was a lot of commotion going down when I was in the hallway.
Okay.
When I came back out, I was then remiked, and it was still commotion going on.
Okay.
When she made that comment, I did not assume she was speaking to Kenya or about Kenya. I assumed she was saying that because we were in Bankhead.
So you
We
heard
had
it.
everybody had already made this whole thing about, oh my God, from Buckhead to Bankhead.
You and Angela both had pivotal.
How we going to Bankhead to the bank, right? So of course, you know, I bring my security with me everywhere I go, Big Kenny, for my safety and for the safety of others that who are around me. So that's why when she said something about a pistol, I'm like, for what? Girl, we got Kenny here. And
I
your
thought
husband should
she,
be pulling up to come and get you. Because she
we
didn't
heard you
ride
say
with
that.
me. Her husband picked her up and dropped her off, right? So that's why it didn't click to me
Okay.
that she was talking about a pistol for Kenya at that time. No, that's why I was like, no, not a pistol like to harm her. I'm assuming
Right.
like for safety because we were in Bankhead. That's why I was
Yeah.
like, no, Kenny, you don't need that.
Right.
Because
I got
I
you.
would never agree to dealing with the things I have dealt with in my past. I would never agree to a firearm and someone like hurting someone in that manner. How are we going to Bankhead to the bank, right?
So I will say this. I do feel like, is there a world where when Kenya was saying Brit threatened her with a pistol, that in Kelly's mind, she was thinking about, she heard this, that, because we know that she heard it because she said to Brit, no, we don't need all that, which she just admitted right here. That's why when she said she didn't hear it in the episode, we were all like, what? You answered her when she said it the first time, right? Again, I have said before that when Britt mentioned it that time, I said, okay, maybe she's talking about for the area because they both were. If you go back to the conversation, they both were talking about the outside or something, and Kelly's mentioning her security. So I was trying to give like a half of, well, maybe they were talking about outside. But then when she was walking outside and in the same sentence talking to about Kenya and saying she can do that, try that, it's for TV. I got whistles and pit and whip whistles. I got whips and pistols. No, you was talking about Kenya. You can't convince me otherwise. So maybe Kelly, when she said she didn't hear it to Kenya, maybe she wasn't even thinking about the comment that Britt made, that first comment, because she's thinking she's talking about the area. I wish she would have said, well, I did hear her make a pistol comment, but it's because we were talking about the area that we were in. She said there was a lot of commotion. She heard her mention that. Did she really not hear Britt mention the whistles and pips? Whistles, Lord. I was going to say pips and whistles. I'm going to start saying, did she really not hear Britt mention the pips and whistles when they were going out the door? When it was Kelly, her husband, I mean, when it was, what's her name? Britt, her husband, Mike, and Kelly. I don't know. I do think it's interesting that she said she didn't. Again, I think it's interesting that she said she didn't hear it the first time. And then when she went on Watch What Happens Live, maybe when she's saying, when I watched it, I heard things I hadn't heard. Maybe she's talking about when they went out the door. I don't know. But clearly she heard her mention a pistol. Again, if she only heard her the first time, maybe she felt like Britt was talking about for their safety because of where they were. I don't know. Y'all let me know what y'all think. Let's get into just a couple of the comments. Somebody said the first time it was directed at the neighborhood, but the second time it was directed at Kenya. Somebody else said, agreed. That's how I took it. But when she took it outside, she definitely was talking to and about Kenya. I believe that too. Somebody said Kelly is a Pisces, and we all know how they lie. Somebody said, now hold on, don't put Pisces in this. Somebody else said, not too much. That was funny. So then somebody said, wait a minute, it makes sense because she was not talking to Kenya. You ever heard of it? You ever heard of if it ain't directed, it's respected? Y'all acting like she said she was going to pal Kenya. See, that's what gets on my nerves. To this person, if this person was arguing with someone, had just finished arguing with someone and walked away from the person, and the person is continuing to call you out of your name and then says, you can do that ish for everybody here. I'm just saying everybody here because in real life, they might not have cameras. And Britt said you can do it in front of the cameras. But with this person, if there was a crowd and they're walking away and somebody said, you can do that ish in front of all these people, but I got whips and pistols. Who would she think they were talking about? Like, let's not be dense another day. Come on. If you want to go with the first one wasn't about Kenya, I'll give you that. That second one definitely was. Somebody said all she said was she didn't think it was about Kenya at the time. Why are y'all dragging her? Her and Brit aren't even cool no more. I think people are dragging her because all she said was, I didn't hear it. She didn't say, I heard her mention a pistol, but I thought she was talking about because of our safety for the area we were in, but I did not hear her say it a second time. That's it. That's why people are dragging her, I'm sure, because she said she didn't hear it. So we're thinking she heard none of it. Even though we knew she at least heard the first one because she responded to her in the scene. But somebody said, play it, please. Oh, y'all see it. And then somebody else said, Kelli, why are you screaming at us? Anyway, y'all let me know what y'all think. There's something else that I wanted y'all to see. I'm not going to play it. I'm just going to surmise it for y'all real fast. Hold on. And I got that from Reality Chat. Hold on a second. Wait, this is not it. I wanted to show y'all something real quick. Let's see. It might be on the Bravo Shade Room right here. Again, I'm not playing it for you. See this right here? The Nene Leakes with Latasha Scott. Y'all see that? I listened, and I listened to it twice. I'm gonna say that because I had passengers in my car who were listening, but then they would want to talk about what they heard, and then. But anyway, so I listened. If any of y'all listened, y'all let me know what y'all thought. I'm gonna tell you what I thought. I'm gonna go off of my gut. I felt like Latasha was lying about some things because if I had to pick out of Latasha and Tamika who I would believe telling a story, for me, it would be Tamika. Next question, Tamika. Next question, Tamika. For those of y'all that know, no, that's Jocelyn. That's all I'm gonna say. But anyway, so basically, Latasha was saying she did the she did the residuals challenge because no other woman had done the residuals challenge, and she felt like maybe she could get through. Like she wanted to say what was on her heart for her sister because her sister, she tried to reach out to her sister before she did the residuals challenge. She tried to reach out to Tamika. Tamika had not called her back, and she was trying to reach out. Now we know that Tamika said Tasha changed her number. And remember on the show, it came out that Tiny was the only one that had the new number. So I don't know how she was reaching out to her. Tamika herself, after the residual challenge aired and it was floating around, she came out and said she was at a family event and she was on the dance floor dancing. Her mom and Tasha and their mom came in, saw her dancing, turned around and left back out. Okay. Latasha said that Tamika has backed off a little bit, I guess like maybe on her anger because the rest of the family is telling Tamika, you know you're wrong. Nene asked her, did Rocky ever steal from the group? She said no. It's interesting. I wish Nene had said, well, on the show, your sister said that you stole $30,000. Because I'm telling you, Latasha was like, after my sister heard the residuals, her residuals challenge version, she said, pull up, call me. I got to talk to her. Girl, I don't believe you. I don't believe you. On the show, again, we found out that you had changed your number and Tiny was the only one that had it. But you've been reaching out to your sister all this time. Also in the song, she said she had been separated from Rocky for 2 years. And a lot of the things that people attributed to her saying about her relationship and her sister, she said it was about the group also. Girl, those were her feelings about the group. She said that her and Rocky are together because Nene was like, you said you've been separated for 2 years. She said they're together, but they're working through some things. They've been together for 30 years, but she's not going to take counsel from outside people. She's only going to take it from one person. And I think she meant God. I get that, have God in your marriage, but if you need a counselor, a physical person to go down and sit and talk to, I think, or a therapist, I think you need to do that. She also said that one of her songs is dropping. That's for sure. She felt like her sister should have her back. Nene brought up, Candy said that you were not kicked out of the group. She said that she maintained she found out the group was going on tour. Her lawyer sent a letter asking for dates and she couldn't go. Then she said they didn't want her. She also said that the name Escape was hers. Nene said, so you could sue them. She said, yep, I could sue them. No, I'm sorry. She said, yep, I could. And Nene said, you could. She said, I could, saying she could sue, right? So in my mind, I'm thinking, no, you can't, because your sister also owns the name with you. And I believe all they need is one of you. Well, sure enough, I said, I wonder if it clicked in. Oh, people are going to be able to research this. It clicked in, I think. And she said, because Nene was like, every time I see Tiny, I thought Tiny owned the name of the group. And Tasha said, I put my sister's name on it, I guess, like on the paperwork or whatever. And Tiny would be like, oh, that's them sisters. That's them sisters. That's their name. So I'm glad that she told the truth on that part. But I don't think she couldn't sue, right? If they both own it and one of the owners is okay with using it. So it was all of that, y'all. It was just more of, to me, I think Tasha spinning lies. I really, 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 really do. Really. I didn't know she had a vegan cookbook out, like a vegan soul food cookbook. That was pretty much it. Nene was reading from her cards, asking her questions. Yeah, she didn't seem like to me that she took any accountability for any wrongdoings. Everything was always, my sister didn't have my back. And Nene is like, interviewers aren't going to know everything. I know that when I interview people, I go back and listen to a lot of their interviews that they've done, but that still doesn't mean I'm going to catch everything, right? But if there are headlines around them, then I do try to make sure I'm informed on those things, right? If the headlines happen before the interview, of course. You could tell Nene didn't, well, Nene had just met her, but Nene or whoever did the research with the questions didn't know, didn't inform Nene, because Nene was like, yeah, your sister needs to have your back, especially in public, no matter what. Your sister needs to have your back. And we know that's one of the reasons that Tamika fell out with Candy, because Tasha was mad at Candy. And so Tamika called into that radio show and said, and has admitted to lying on Candy, saying Candy slept with Jermaine Dupri and his daddy. So when she was like, I wish my sister would have my back and this and that and this and that. And Nene was like, oh, is it just you two? And Latasha was like, well, my dad has kids, on his side. And Nene was like, no, with your mom. And she's like, yeah, it's just us. So, of course, if you didn't know going in and you're listening to one side of the story, you're like, oh, wow, that's messed up. She should have your back and not, these other women. So it was just a lot of that. And it made me not believe anything she was saying, even the positive stuff she was saying, like, I'm exercising, I want to empower women, like all this stuff. It didn't make me believe it, because this is all the same stuff that she's been saying. She didn't address any of it, right? Like none of it. So it was kind of like, girl, I feel like your sister did have your back. Again, I'm not in their relationship. But from what I saw watching the show, it certainly seemed like she had her back. There is one thing I want y'all to see. I was going to talk about it, but I would rather you see it. So let's get into it. 1 second. Yes, that's D, who is the managing editor of the Neighborhood Talk, came on Nene's segment, as to bring her like what's going on in the headlines, the gossip news and all that. I thought this was so funny, y'all. Let's watch this real quick and then we are done. Hold on. I'm about to say, don't do it where I lose it.
When you marry somebody, they become first. Even your parents, it becomes second to the person that you're married to.
Now, you've hung out with Portia and Simon, I think several times.
I have.
Do you feel like...
I forgot. Y'all, I'm sorry. I forgot that segment had music. Y'all heard that? Ain't no, nope. I don't know how that music got there, because it wasn't there. Let's go on Dee's page and see if the music is there. Let's see. Hold on a second. Let's see.
Girl.
There's music in all the segments. Oh, man. All right. Y'all could go and see, but this is what I'm going to tell y'all. Because YouTube ain't get ready to flag me. So they were talking about Portia in the latest episode where she said that when Angela said, you know, if there was a chance, if Simon came to you and said, forget all the BS, would you get back with him? And she said, no, because he involved my mom, accused my mom, you know, of being in cahoots with a gunman coming to the house, right? So Dee asked her that, and she says, well, I think Nene kind of misheard the question wrong, but Nene was like, well, your spouse comes before your in-laws, right? So if he wanted to say his opinion, he should have. I don't think she realized exactly what it was. But then Dee said, well, you've hung around with Portia and Simon. Do you think it was real? Now, before that, Nene had played a game with Tasha, sip or spill. If you don't want to answer the question, sip. If you do want to answer, you spill. So, but in the game that she played, it was between music groups like Total or In Vogue. You know, like group. It was that. It was that. So when Dee asked her, Dee said, "You've been around Simon and Portia a lot. Did you think it was real?" Nene said, "Is this a game?" Y'all, when I tell you, I screamed because you know Nene. She said, "Is this a game?" So she sipped on it, and then Dee said, "Did Portia love Simon?" She sipped on that. And then she said, did Simon love Portia? And she said, yes. Then Dee asked her about Ashley Darby. She said, you know, Ashley Darby has been all up and down the timeline singing Roberta Flack. Nene said, yes. Dee said, if you were having, I don't know if she said a party or something, who would you pick to sing? Candy or Ashley Darby? I said, messy. But good question, Dee. And Nene said, Ashley Darby. Shut. She said she'd be like, sang that Roberta Flack. I said, girl. But it was I like their segment. I'm gonna be honest with you. I could have did more. I would wish they had more of their segment than with Latasha because I felt like Latasha was lying. If y'all watch it, y'all let me know. But that thing was funny when Nene was talking about Portia. Y'all know that Nene can be funny. If y'all watched it, let me know what y'all think. Also, let me know what y'all think about the Kelli of it all. Do you think that maybe Kelli, hey, is not used to this press cycle and is not didn't articulate quite correctly what in fact she heard, didn't hear, how she heard it, and what context she heard it in. Love y'all so much. I will talk to y'all later. See ya. Oh, and I'm gonna do a Beverly Hills recap. I know I didn't do parts 1 and 2. We'll breeze through them and then do 3 because I have a lot to say. Talk to you later.